Let's listen now as the choir sings for us. Let's all sing now in Come, Now is the Time to Worship. Good morning, and a very happy new year, if I haven't spoken to you this year so far, to everyone. And if you were in town during the week, you would notice that as far as South Ayrshire is concerned, they're following the liturgical pattern that Christmas carries on until today. So a number of our hymns today will be carols. So it's we're come to this time of worship. Let us bring our hearts and minds, our joys, sorrows, and challenges from the week past and our worries about the week to come. Come with your hopes and your wounds. Let us bring them all before God and know that we are all accepted and welcomed as we are. Come, trust that God will help and support us. Let us worship the Lord of creation. Let's sing in the hymn, Christ is our light, to the tune of Highland Cathedral. I want to share with you a story you may have heard before. It's for looking back to Christmas, and it's about a young man who had made it good and had travelled away from home, and he hadn't been in touch with his mother for quite some time, and he decided that his conscience was bothering him. So he sent her a Christmas present, and it was a unique gift. And in case you don't know what they look like, I'll let you see the first slide here. It was a rare South American parrot for which he paid £1,200, which even in these days of inflation is quite a bit of money. But after a month, he still had heard nothing from his mother, and he was getting a bit worried. So he phoned her up, and he asked her, "Did you get the bird that I sent you?" And she said, "Oh yes, it was lovely. I cooked it the day after it came. It was quite delicious." And he was more than a little annoyed, because he said, "You cooked it, Mum. That was a rare South American parrot. It cost me £1,200. That parrot could speak 5 different languages." And "My goodness, son," the mum responded, "if only you had said something. If only." And if only if only you had said something. If only we had done something. If only we'd lived in some other place. If only we were more beautiful. If only people were friendlier to me. If only I had more money. If only I were younger, or if only I were older. If only I had a different kind of job. If only people really knew what I was like. If only. And it can go on and on and on. If only. And think about that today as we move into the new year, 2024. We're going to talk about it in the context of an alternative stance, that in this new year ahead, one of our resolutions is to be that instead of saying, in if only, then we've got to say, we'll do it differently. We'll do it differently. Oops. And it is differently is the next time, if we do it differently, it gives us a word of hope. And that's something that we look forward to make that one of our watchwords for 2024. Next, instead of saying, if only we had done, and we can't change the past, we'll do it differently next time. Let's sing again in It Was on a Starry Night. Something Betty Ford said, a former First Lady of the United States, said in 1975 in a well-publicized speech she gave was, many barriers continued to block the path. And she saw that as being not just a barrier, but as being an impediment to any progress that was taking. I attended a funeral at the beginning of December of a man who'd made his mark on his church and community and among friends and family over a long life. It was a very busy funeral because of that, and there was many stories about his full and self-giving life shared. And among the tributes that were paid by the family, there was what you might think was an almost insignificant story jumped out at me. One of his daughters recalled her wedding day, and the wedding reception was to be in the garden of the family home, and that required them to erect a large marquee to accommodate all the guests. But there wasn't quite enough room in the garden for the large marquee. And so the problem her dad discovered was that there was a hedge in the way and that he couldn't get the marquee up. And she went on to say, "My father wasn't going to be daunted by a mere hedge," she said with pride. "So he dug it up and moved it to another part of the garden. My dad was like that. He was good at removing barriers." You, like me, have probably over the years have heard the phrase, "better to light a candle than to curse the darkness." Some people thought it came from John F. Kennedy, and others thought it came from Peter Benison, the English lawyer who founded Amnesty International at a human rights day ceremony in 1961. And of course, Amnesty International, as you'll see, now has a candle with barbed wire around it as its emblem. But it was probably first brought to the British attention by a Methodist minister in England, William Watkinson. He used the expression in 1907 when he wrote, "Denunciatory rhetoric is so much easier and cheaper than good works and proves a popular temptation, yet it's far better to light a candle than to curse the darkness." In fact, if you know anything about the background to well-known sayings, apparently it goes even further back than that, and it goes back to Confucius. So that was a good bit before 1907, but it still is valid. We can all look forward into a new year and anticipate that it's going to hold a number of barriers and a lot of darkness for us in different ways. So I'd like you to take into this year another saying: don't just curse the barrier that's in the way. Dig it up and move it. Don't just curse the barrier. Dig it up and move it. Or find some way around it so it doesn't impede your progress. Barriers will appear in 2024. Perhaps many of them, we don't know. But we're not going to let any barrier impede the imaginative celebration that we can have as a congregation in 2024. I certainly hope not. And if you like, when we look at what we could do, then the next slide is we rub out the "im" and we make the things that we're planning possible. So we look forward, and we're going to be positive in 2024. Let's bring our prayers now for other people, our prayers for and the Lord's Prayer. Loving God, in these days of a new year and the turning of the light beginning to stretch, may we have hearts that recognize such kingdom signs, words spoken, peace caught, hope kindled. clues and possibilities that encourage our words, enliven our belief, nourish our faith. Loving God, companion in life and creator of our days, in this day, may our eyes of faith follow your hope, hear your word, feel your call, and may we journey again, trusting in tomorrow because of yesterday. May all your people feel that word of life flowing through all their existence, living, breathing, sustaining, supporting us all. Loving God, found in our everyday experience, may we still see, still trust, still hope in you throughout this new year. And the whisper between us that love is born, the rumour among us that you are one of us, the belief between us. We have a journey to travel, and we will travel that journey with you, bound by the love that never lets us go. So hear us now as we pray the worldwide prayer that Jesus gave us to share in one voice. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Let's sing again in We Three Kings of Orient Are. We Three Kings of Orient are. Listen now for a word from God from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 2, from the Message version. And Margaret will bring us our reading.
After Jesus was born in Bethlehem village, Judea territory, this was during Herod's kingship, a band of scholars arrived in Jerusalem from the east. They asked around, "Where can we find and pay homage to the newborn King of the Jews? We observed a star in the eastern sky that signaled his birth. We're in pilgrimage to worship him." When word of their inquiry got to Herod, he was terrified, and not Herod alone, but most of Jerusalem as well. Herod lost no time. He gathered all the high priests and religious scholars in the city together and asked, "Where is the Messiah supposed to be born?" They told him, "Bethlehem, Judah territory." The prophet Micah wrote it plainly. "It's you, Bethlehem, in Judah's land, no longer bringing up the rear. From you will come the leader who will be shepherd. Rule my people, my Israel." Herod then arranged a secret meeting with the scholars from the east. Pretending to be as devout as they were, he got them to tell him exactly when the birth announcement star appeared. Then he told them the prophecy about Bethlehem and said, "Go find this child, leave no stone unturned. As soon as you find him, send word and I'll join you at once in your worship." Instructed by the king, they set off. Then the star appeared again, the same star they had seen in the eastern skies. It led them on until it hovered over the place of the child. They could hardly contain themselves. They were in the right place. They had arrived at the right time. They entered the house and saw the child in the arms of Mary, his mother. Overcome, they kneeled and worshipped him. Then they opened their luggage and presented gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. In a dream, they were warned not to report back to Herod, so they worked out another route. They left the territory without being seen and returned to their own country. After the scholars were gone, God's angel showed up again in Joseph's dream and commanded, "Get up, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt. Stay until further notice." Herod is in the hunt for this child and wants to kill him. Joseph obeyed. He got up, took the child and his mother under cover of darkness. They were out of town and well on their way by daylight. They lived in Egypt until Herod's death. This Egyptian exile fulfilled what Isaiah had preached. "I called my son out of Egypt." Herod, when he realized that the scholars had tricked him, flew into a rage. He commanded the murder of every little boy 2 years old and under who lived in Bethlehem and its surrounding hills. He determined that age from information he'd gotten from the scholars. That's when Jeremiah's revelation was fulfilled. A sound was heard in Ramah, weeping and much lament. Rachel weeping for her children. Rachel refusing all solace. Her children gone, dead and buried. Amen.
Thank you very much. Let's sing again in "As with Gladness, Men of Old." What is it about this time of year that we furiously prepare for Christmas? It finally comes to us when we're already exhausted, and we take to the highways and byways, and we come back a few days later ready to tackle a fresh new year. And rather being rested by our journeying, we're more worn out than ever because of our time away, battling, as some might, coughs and sniffles and sore throats. Perhaps next year, we say, we'll get for Christmas what we really want. And I'm guessing all of us really wants not presents, not more shopping, not a more hectic New Year's Eve, but maybe a few more hours of quiet time and sleep. And perhaps that's not just the way that the Christmas season is supposed to be. I'd like to tell you that the Bible gives us the rest we need, but it doesn't. The Christ child is born in Bethlehem, and we're on the next scene of this cosmic drama. And we see precisely what Karl Barth and other writers meant when they said that Christmas begins with an uprising against the powers of the world. Matthew throws us into an eternal story of epic heroism, a politically charged religious battle of life and death. Brutal King Herod, rightly sensing that another one, a little baby, has been born who might challenge his strong-fisted government. He sends these odd wise men, probably astrologers of some kind, on a quest to find the Christ child. And I'm always amazed at how differently the Bible depicts the Christmas than how we see it in our homes to be in the world around us. A friend told me about a Christmas card that he had received from a new relative on a visit on a visit to Palestine. Bethlehem, of course, is in the West Bank, and in the lower right-hand corner of the card are wise men on camelback, their eyes fixed on the upper left-hand corner of the card where the Star of Bethlehem is shining brightly. But this is the modern-day Middle East, so right down the middle of the card, between the wise men and the star for which they travelled so far, is a 30-foot wall. A wall that is snaking its way along the border between the West Bank and Israel. So much for the notion that religion and politics don't mix. So much for the notion that Jesus and any government share the same values. So much for catching up on rest for the new year. For King Herod's New Year's resolution is to slaughter Mary's infant boy, whose tender newborn hands pose a threat, he thinks, to the rule of government of Herod's clenched fist. And into this epic tale of life and death, of good and evil, of light and dark, come these minor characters about to play a major role. I like how John Irving describes it in his book, A Prayer for Owen Meany. In the book, little Owen Meany is furious that the minister of his church plans to leave out the verse of We Three Kings, in the annual Christmas service. He says the church needs to hear the verse that begins to sing loudly, sorrowing, sighing, bleeding, dying, sealed in a stone-cold tomb. Yes, it sounds very Christmassy, but isn't it so like our world today? The life of the Christ child rests on the unknowing shoulders of three wise men, not religious people at all, but rather weird, misfit, out of the mainstream astrologers with little or no knowledge of scripture or religious conviction. They just happen to walk across history's stage at the right moment and find their feet scripted into a journey of darkness, a journey illumined by the bright light of God's grace shining in the eastern sky, shining into their misfit lives. The wise men are sometimes called kings, though according to the Bible, they were far from royalty. The Bible doesn't give us very much to go on. We don't even know that there were three, though tradition says that that's based on 3 gifts that they brought. Each time I read this story, I'm struck by the fact at how unprepared these wise men were for the ones who were chosen to fulfill this destiny. I said that to, I think it was the senior pupils in Forehill Primary School, and some of them looked at me quite scathingly that this wasn't what they had been told. And I said, well, when I was questioned, I said, well, actually, when you read the Bible, then that's what you find in the Bible there. The wise men are often portrayed as bumbling fools of sorts. They're astrologers, and the image we have is of some odd-looking person, probably gypsy-clad with too many piercings, exaggerated makeup, holding out a fuzzy palm and promising love, riches, and happiness to the first 10 callers at a tent or a fairground. Or if we update it to a phone number given out on late-night television, they get lost. They're depicted in Christmas plays wearing funny hats and dressing gowns. They just don't fit in. And you have to ask the question, why in the world would God allow the life of Jesus to rest on the journey of these misfit men? And yet the Bible tells story after story about how God uses the misfits of the world to accomplish God's purposes in the world. Even non-religious astrologers like these can help bring about God's good work in the world today. Ironically, it's these misfits who have gifts they bring the Christ child. If you've read J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Frodo is the most unlikely candidate to carry the ring to its destruction, and yet he's given the task. And the words that Tolkien writes are, "I wish I had never seen the ring," said Frodo. "Why did it come to me? Why was I chosen?" Such questions cannot be answered, said Gandalf. You may be sure that it was not for any merit that others do not possess, not for power or wisdom at any rate, but you have been chosen, and you must therefore use such strength and wits as you have. Like Frodo, all of us, in our own unique and misfit way, have been chosen. We've been created to offer our gifts to God and God's work in the world. Contrary to much modern thinking, when we try to follow Jesus in our lives, we don't begin to mirror the values around us. Rather, we discover that our lives are increasingly at odds with the surrounding culture. My sense is that all of us, to the extent that we try to live faithfully, will feel that we don't belong, like somehow we don't fit in. Single people, retirees, teachers, teenagers, all people in the world, every one of us in some way or other at some time feel that we are misfits, that we don't quite feel at home in this world. Our lives are off balance, maybe just a few degrees, but enough to make us pause. And in that pause, we might ask with Frodo, why me? I didn't choose this journey, this script that I find myself in. It's easy in that moment to pause, for us to say, oh, I want to fit in so badly, or I want my children to fit in, and I just want my job and family to be normal. But the Bible suggests this is the wrong approach. When we look at the chaos and craziness in the world around us, why would we want to fit into the world 2024 style as it is? Why would we ever want to be normal in the world's terms of normal? The key to finding deeper meaning and purpose in our lives may not be working harder to fit in. The key to life with God, to our life's purpose, is to find that place where we're unique, where our lives rub raw against the mainstream norms of the world. If we embrace that place, it is there we'll find meaning and purpose, our calling, you might say. I love the words that Friedrich Buchner says about calling. He talks about it as being in that place where your great gifts meet the world's great pain. We embrace our own misfitness. James Taylor's words might ring true. Yes, they went home by another way, home by another way. You and me can be wise guys too and go home by another way. We will find our way home, and though it may not be the path we expected or planned, it will take us where we want to go. Often the misfits of the world are the ones who are the ones who generally do the real work of Christmas after Christmas is long over, the misfits of the world, the people who sometimes have trouble fitting in, feeling at home in the world around them, who often exemplify the words of the Howard Turman poem, when the song of angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among brothers and sisters, to make music in the heart. This all-year gritty Christmas work is the work of regular misfit disciples like you and me. And it's the only answer to our restless festive fatigue, to our lonely misfitness, the dream we should all dream, the only New Year's resolution that really matters in 2024 is that our lives would be better, more faithful, that God will use even us like these oh so wise misfit kings, equipped for a guest that did not choose, but find it to be the only way to life. And at the end of the day, that's our only way to our life in all its fullness. And if you look at it this way, Oliver kept you amused if you got lost halfway through that. Let's sing again in a hymn which is perhaps less known, but it's He Came to Earth in Poverty, and we sing it to the tune of How Can I Keep From Singing? The intimations are in your hands. Everyone is welcome to tea and coffee after the service. Things restart activity-wise during the week. Monday, the bowling club. Tuesday, the coffee shop. The Guild on Wednesday, and the Warm Spaces on Thursday. And thank you to all of those who have gifted again to the food bank. And the updated list is there for that. You're also invited to stay not just for tea and coffee today, but for a fundraising soup lunch after our morning service today. The Youth Church starts on next Sunday, and it's open to all young children. So Oliver, it might be more fun next week if you come back then. But if I can just say a word of welcome to those who don't normally worship with us, and I ask you to greet all those round about with a Happy New Year or a greeting of peace round about. Yeah, still. Happy New Year. And then just to intimate that the funeral service for a long-time member of our congregation, Margaret Irving, will be on Tuesday at Mason Hill Crematorium at 2 p.m. then. And it's with sadness we note that Mrs. Nettie Bell died yesterday, and after a long period of illness. So our prayers go to both these families for their sadness at this time. Let's bring our prayers for other people. Creator God, we gather our world and our experience of that world, the concerns we have and the thoughts of others, and we look for your good news in a new year, your marks of love in a world that seems only to hate. Though all we know, through all we know, may we follow the signs of justice for our environment and communities, that we might live more fairly with creation and with each other, that we might scatter through our lives words of truth, speak truth to power, that we might bring new life to this world that so needs to hear of it. May we show signs of welcome to those who have no home, running from that which threatens them because of religion, politics, culture, gender, or language. The prejudices that cause cracks across the world and the mania that so often goes with it. May welcome be the antidote to the oppression of fear. May we follow the signs of grace for those who have no health care at present, who are without food, who are without stability or peace in Ukraine and parts of Russia, in Israel and Palestine, in Gaza and their neighboring countries drawn into their conflicts. May we seek the means and the ways to rebalance the stability of our world, to build back better, to renew our relationship with you, towards our neighbours, towards strangers and those who are different from us, in our communities and in our country. And may we follow the same signs of love for our own families and friends. We think of those hurting and lonely, those grieving, and those ill physically and mentally. And we ask if there is a way that we can find to accompany each to a richer living, to a supported life, that we might be companions with you on their way. And in the silence of our hearts, we name to you now those people for whom we have a particular concern at this time. Loving God, may we have a faith that sees those signs of your kingdom right here among us this year, in the ordinariness of our everyday life in 2024. May we follow these signs, the signs of love towards each other, for you, and to you. So be it. Amen. Let's sing now in Brightest and Best of the Sons of the Morning. To the ice of hate, may we be an axe of love. To the frostbitten injury, the salve of pardon. To cold waters of doubt, a bridge of faith. To the dark soil of despair, a seed of hope. To the snowstorm of sadness, a shelter of joy. To long nights of darkness, a candle of light. And the blessing of the one who was, who is, and who is to come be on us all, healing our past, filling our present, lighting up our future. In the name of God, the Creator, the Prince of Peace, and our ever-present companion, now and always. May the God of hope go with us.